Welcome to another episode of Threads of Enlightenment. As usual, I'd like to stop right here and say thank you to my guests for a couple of things that I deem very important. One, time. It is one of the most precious commodity that is given to mankind, and how we'll use it will dictate where we end up. And the other is your journey. Matt, thank you for coming and sharing your journey, because in it house who you were and created who you are today. And so I want to thank you, sir, for coming to the Threads of Enlightenment. Welcome.
Ken, thank you for having me. Really excited to be here with you.
Excellent, man. Tell the people about, I've been telling them for several years now that all of us are creators. From the minute we plant our body, our spirit into that body, and we're here laid out, we have the ability to create. If you don't believe me, take a look at your life. You created it. So tell them all the things that you have created so far on your journey.
Well, I live here in Northern Colorado with my wonderful family. I'm married to Emily. We're coming up on 19 years, have a 15-year-old son, Riley, 12-year-old
Congrats.
daughter, Haley. And, if I give you the quick list of creation and say titles, hats that
Yeah.
I wear, I'm a Jesus follower. I'm a serial entrepreneur, an author, a keynote speaker. I love Spain. I love their coffee. I'm an aspiring paella chef. I
Uh-huh.
love throwing Spanish dinner parties. And Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu has been a huge part of my life. I'm a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu black belt. We run a school, and I
Nice.
teach kids, law enforcement, all kinds of people. And I really feel that my assignment, my calling, my purpose is to share my story with others, to allow them to dig into theirs and really own and live their life, their business, their leadership with excellence, to really take hold of their story and change it if they don't like the book that they're writing. And I get to do that every day in the business space, in that business demographic. And it's really cool because it
Yeah.
surprises people and get to make people's life better every day. And I really love that.
That is an excellent assignment. And I love those that once they are aware of their assignment, that life becomes tasty, as I tell them,
Yeah.
Matt. There's flavor comes into that. Talk to us as to your family background, because I always tell people this is, as we all know, it's our formative years. It is the place by which we are being introduced to micro society, if you will, and we're learning a certain principles to which to live by. Talk to us a little about your family and how that was.
Yeah, I was the oldest of four kiddos and grew up in northern New Jersey till I was 10. So my dad worked a lot. Mom was home with the kids. And some of the, core memories, right, from childhood is I was brilliant. I
Yeah.
was very smart, very good at math, very good at school. But I was also a, 5, 6, 7, 10-year-old boy. And you know what they like to do? They like to get in trouble. They're full of energy. So I was
Yeah.
labeled by the schools as a ADHD, need to be medicated troublemaker.
Yep.
And I was also very small, goofy looking, buck teeth. I got bullied a lot. And looking back now as a jujitsu instructor, I was a super easy target and I didn't fit in. So
Yeah.
those couple of experiences, right? You're not good enough. You're bad. You're going to get in trouble. You're not going to make anything of yourself. Combined with layered with just getting physically beaten down on the playground by like girls especially every day, it destroyed and wrecked my confidence. So I was very scared of the world, not very confident in myself. And back in the early 80s, right, or early mid late 80s, there wasn't personal development at the click of a button on
Yeah.
the internet. There's no internet. So
Yeah.
there weren't the tools that we have today to figure this stuff out. So I kind of had I didn't have the tools that I didn't have, but a core memory. And this started my business journey. We moved to Colorado, which was a wonderful
Mhm.
move that my family made. And so thankful for that. All of the kids that I ran around with back in New Jersey, they're dead, they're in prison, they disappeared, or they got disappeared, which means something different.
Wow.
And
Yeah.
they got into that life. So I come out here and they tell me like you would have just been a drug dealer. And I said, I would have been the best drug dealer ever if I stayed back there. I asked my parents for $200 for a big radio boombox CD player, and they said, no, you've got to find a way
Yeah.
to make your own money. So I took their lawnmower, went down the street, knocked on doors, made a couple $1,000s. And that was the first
Mhm.
moment, Ken, in my life where I had confidence, purpose, acknowledgement, validation, and people saying, good job, not
Yeah.
you're not doing, not you suck, you're getting in trouble, you're a troublemaker, go to the principal's office. So that space I knew was going to be my space. I was a different Matt in that space. Now, when I left that
Yeah.
space, I
Yeah.
was back to scared, bucktooth, getting bullied Matt. But money became an idol. It became a pursuit. I figure, okay, if I made a couple thousand, I need to go make 10,000. And I figured the more money I made, the more validation, confidence, purpose, enlightenment that I would have. And that's totally not true. But it was the
Yeah.
beginning
Yeah.
of my business journey. And that's a little background. Yeah, family of origin, location, and some core experiences that I had.
Yeah, those core experiences, as you mentioned, those are those experiences that form you and I, the way we began to process our thoughts. How did we assimilate that information based on those things that took place as young kids? And I always tell people, usually trauma enters in. It's very simple. In some cases, it's of course a brutal situation, but in many cases, it's a simple um, misinterpretation of an information based on that little child's
Yeah.
knowledge of the world.
Yeah.
Parents, one of them may come up and say, go to the parent, can I play with you? Can you do this or whatever? And the parent is busy because of something and may have said no. And that child interpret that as
Mhm.
a rejection, and that was it. And it changed their life forever. But in some cases, like you said, it's a blatant thing, but it does
Yeah.
form us and cause us to behave and think certain ways.
Yeah, there's those micro moments and those macro moments. So, very, very
Yeah.
big core memory. I remember mouthing off to a kid in New Jersey. I'm 7 or 8 years old. He's 16. I'm walking out of a magazine shop and he grabs me by the shirt, throws me up against a brick wall, pulls out a knife, sticks it right to my stomach and says, "You effing talk to me like that again, I'll cut you open." So that's a very
Wow.
core memory, right? And then you just have these little micro moments, right? Of, hey, want to go throw the baseball? No, I can't throw the baseball. I'm busy. I'm
Yeah.
tired. I worked all day. But it's really interesting. I love neurolinguistic programming and
Hmm.
the fact of like, hey, we're programmed by our experiences, by our family of origin, right?
Yes.
Typically our parents, and they're programmed by time we're five.
Yeah.
So literally, if I look back to being 5 years old, I was programmed by somebody that was also programmed when they were 5 years old. And unless we
Yeah.
understand that programming, and you can rewrite it, you can recreate it, but
Well,
but
yeah.
if you don't, you're just going to keep running that program. I'm living in 2023 today, and I was programmed in 1986 when I was five, right, by your dad or your mom, who what was their
Yeah.
programming
Yeah.
back in the 60s, 70s, whenever that was, if I'm
Hmm.
doing the math right. So very, very interesting, and I was so blind to that for many years, and I'm so glad I found that you can have control over that.
Yeah. Yeah. I personally believe that every family, someone in the family has an opportunity to change the trajectory of that family. I
Hmm.
think it's offered and it's come, and some people will take it, and some people, just anything. Some people will begin it, but they will um, abandon the journey because the journey is one that can be very scary as you begin to learn more about yourself. But I believe that gift is offered to everyone.
Yeah.
And another thing that you had mentioned, that changing location, sometimes people don't want to change location, man. Changing location can benefit you in moving forward and changing your mindset. As you said, it was one of the best things that your family did when
Yeah.
they moved from one area to another. So it gave you the opportunity to expand and began your personal growth
Yeah.
that's still kept you alive. As you mentioned, most of those folks back then are gone by this time or in some other different place, but
Yeah.
you were able to do that because you moved. So sometimes people change location. It'll change your life as well. So talk
Yeah.
to us, Matt. The one you talk. Here's this young man experiencing entrepreneurship early on in life. Um, Started to get some insight about money and what it can do, but and how it can also corrupt one's thinking and so forth. Talk to us as this young man began to look at the stuff in his pocket, the green, as they say, and you're forward looking into the world
Yeah.
now. Where did you go, and what caused you to make those decisions to go in that direction? Meaning, type of school. What was it that after you were learning to make this money so early, what was it doing to this young man?
Yeah, I love it. I always encourage people, like, you have a traumatic experience, or whatever your story is. There's two sides to that coin, right? So I say, oh,
Yeah.
money became my idol. Well, yes, it did. That's the truth. Maybe that's the
Yeah.
negative thing, or the thing I need to pay attention to. But it taught me about hard work, about self-reliance, about working
Hmm.
for whatever you want. It taught that accountability. So I was a very hard worker. I had my little snow shoveling, lawn mowing, candy peddling business out of the locker. And then
Yeah.
I'd always win the magazine sales. Then I'd go out and win more magazine sales for friends so we could do the limo ride. That was just my space. And then I worked hourly jobs. I worked really hard at a sandwich shop, shoe store, Chinese restaurant, Chinese food
Yeah.
restaurant. But big experience in college. I went to Colorado State University, and I got approached
Hmm.
by a national college painting company. They come onto campuses and recruit students that are hardworking and interested in business and want to make a lot of money. And you're impressionable, right? You're
Yeah.
18, 19.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I signed
Hmm.
up with them, and I worked 4 years through college with them, made a bunch of money, but I spent
Wow.
3 times what I made. So we'll kind of park that story to the side. I had no financial blueprint of how money worked.
Yeah.
But one thing I would say is you will become the people that you keep company with. And
Yeah.
this does not speak for the company as a whole. However, the Colorado demographic of the group of college painting buddies I ran around with, we liked to take all that money we made and go out and drink and do drugs and chase women on the
Hmm.
weekends. So
Yeah.
Friday about 3 o'clock is when it started, until I woke up Sunday
Yeah.
afternoon, took a shower, got cleaned up, and then went back to performing really well in school. So that those influences ended up, the drugs, the alcohol, the women chasing, that all became other things that I was really pursuing, that I thought, right, would give me validation, credibility, whatever I needed,
Yeah.
certainty, and just acceptance, right? We need to belong. We need to have community with people. That is a fundamental need, and you'll find it in something. So that
Hmm.
manifested itself in, what was interesting is, you see some people, they're doing drugs, doing alcohol, and it wrecks their life visibly. You can see it on
Yeah.
paper, right? They're homeless on a corner. I was the high
Yeah.
performing person that nobody knew was getting wrecked 2 3 days out of the week.
Yeah.
So that's a
Yeah.
different kind of wake up call that I needed, because it wasn't so apparent. It's like, well, here's my GPA, here's my accolades running a
Yeah.
business. Nobody knew. People to this day don't know when
Yeah.
I share this story.
Yeah. It is. I, I have a similar experience because people would never know that I was drunk or high, and I was higher than they were.
Yeah.
But I could communicate, have my conversation, and I was very aware of my surroundings. But that was just my personality, and I had friends that were in that group, and they were sloppy. Everyone
Yeah.
knew what was going on and stuff like that. And so I totally get it, and
We were the responsible
we
drunks.
get
Right.
yeah, we are, and that's what they used to call me. They used to call me the responsible one, and I was like, oh yeah, okay. But yeah, I was there, man. So your college experience, as you were talking about, um, that's where I tell people the programming kind of goes off the wall because we we kind of get so deep into it that by the time we come out it's 25 years old,
Yeah.
30 years old, and we've not lost, we've put a lot of time, as I said, that commodity of time, we have misused it in some degree. But I want to let anyone that's listening to us, God does not let any of that stuff goes to waste. He
Yeah.
will use it all, even though you went off the rails, as they say.
Hmm.
He's going to use it and cause you to take your personal story and make it a beautiful picture. So, Matt, talk to us about as you were beginning to go and experience all of this stuff and the wild side of life. We call it the dark side. I remember going in the dark
Yeah.
side, and there were a couple of times I thought I had gone so far, Matt, because I was a born again Christian and walked away and stuff like that. And I remember going so far that I got to a place where I fell down one night and begging God to bring me back because I couldn't relate or feel nothing with anyone anymore. And I
Yeah.
know that space when you get to that place. Talk to us as you were, partying, having a good time, like anyone does. What did you begin to notice? Because we do, Matt. What did you begin to notice? Those little glimpses of window that you were coming out of your fog, if you will, where
Yeah.
you were beginning to resonate within yourself.
Yeah, so I would share a little bit of my faith journey, and I would back it up prior to college. We talked about right at the beginning of the podcast, you have these
Yeah,
experiences with people that create these memorable core memories at high emotional levels, and then you make a decision, becomes a programming. It's a lens through which you view the world. So growing
yeah,
up, family of origin, I was never introduced to God. We didn't go to church. We didn't talk about the Bible. And I don't say it's good, bad, anything. It was what it was. So I didn't
yeah.
understand or know who God was. So getting into the middle and high school years, I would, high school is very cliquey, right? You've got the jocks and the sports
Yeah,
people and the nerds and the whatevers, and then you had like the Christian group, and everything was
yeah.
very stereotypical. But oh, there's the Christians, the goody two shoes, very judgmental, shit don't stink, kind of thing. They're
Yeah.
always judging everybody else and can't see the own plank in their eye.
Hmm.
And I was just always warned by others, you don't want to associate with them. And I go, well, I got to go figure this out for myself. So I had a couple of buddies.
Yeah,
They were twin brothers. I called them the Bible thumping twins. They were on
yeah.
fire for Jesus, sweetest guys. The girls loved them, the guys loved them. And they invite me to a Bible study one night. So I come into this Bible study, and I already have this preconceived notion, A, that the world is out to get you and betray
Yeah.
you no matter how hard you work, because I carried that programming. And I also carried, you got to look over your shoulder because you're going to catch a whooping, right? Just because that's what I
Yeah. Yeah.
experienced. And now there's these Christians, and they do an icebreaker question, Ken. And I remember the group leader stands up. He's a young college kid, where I think high school. And he said, "Hey, raise your hand if you're a buncher. Now, raise your hand if you're a folder. Are you a buncher or a folder?"
Hmm.
And I go, "What?" And I look over to the guy. I said, "What do you mean?" He goes, "That's how you wipe your butt. They need to know how you do the toilet paper." And I was like, "What? What?" You go, I already think you guys are weird. That's a weird question. And they circle around, and you go, the kids go, "Bunchers."
Uh-huh.
And then another, "We're folders." And I said, "I'm not raising my hand. You guys are weird." And they said, "Well, if you
Yeah.
don't," and one of the kids said, "If you don't participate, then, don't come back to Bible study." So there's experience one with Christians. So I go,
Yeah.
"You guys are crazy."
Yeah.
College, I'm getting wrecked every weekend coming home to the dorms.
Yeah.
And there's a kid named Brad sitting. It's the stereotypical cross-legged cargo shorts, white t-shirt,
Yeah.
playing the guitar, worship music, a bunch of other people doing the same. And I'm coming home wasted. Like, you can smell me coming down the hall. It's how drunk I am. And he didn't invite me in. He was always eating Chipotle. He didn't invite me in for Chipotle. He said hi, but
Yeah.
this is how he says hi, Ken. He would make sure whenever I came by, and I'd make sure that he saw me. He's like, "Oh, hey Matt,
Yeah.
are you drunk again? I can smell you this time." And I'm real competitive, so I get more drunk every weekend so he could smell me more.
Yeah.
But that was this experience of just being judged and ridiculed. I'm like, don't want to have anything to
Yeah.
do with you guys. So I share that because New Year's Day morning, it's 1:30 in the morning. I just pulled off a night from
Hmm.
2000 to 2001 of really heavy drinking, and like really heavy drinking. Party gets out, and I need to
Yeah.
walk home. It's Colorado cold in January, and I know that my house is kind of this general direction. So I'm just going to walk straight through this neighborhood that doesn't let me out where I
Hmm.
think it's going to let me out. So I walk to this house. There's a 3-foot fence. I'm trying to climb it, and I start cursing and screaming at this fence at like 2 in the morning. Vehicle pulls up behind me. I hear the door open, the door close.
Yeah.
I can kind of feel and see the lights come out, and a guy grabs me. Big dude grabs me, spins me, plants me on the car,
Hmm.
and he says, "Fort Collins Police," hands behind the back, handcuffs. And I'm like, "Wait, I'm not on a police car. I'm on a brown Ford Astro van. And your wife's in the front seat, 2 babies in the back seat." She's like, "What are you doing?" And I'm like, Happy New Year." So they put me in a police car. And this was a really pivotal moment. So I'm in the back of this police car, never been in one before. And I'm
Yeah.
like, what happens now? And this guy did not quote the Bible. He didn't state a scripture.
Mhm.
He didn't talk about Jesus. He had complete authority, power, and control. And he told me this to take me to jail. But he said, "Man, I'm really busy
Yeah.
tonight. If you're not so drunk that you can tell me how to get home, I'll take you home. I really don't want to take you to jail
Yeah.
because you don't want to be in jail." Again, doesn't state that he's a Christian, a believer, or anything. But he's like, "Hey, like, what's your story?" He just starts talking to me a little bit, and I'm pretty incoherent. So I don't know what I'm saying
Yeah.
back to him, but he takes me to the house, lets me out of the car, very, very kind to me. And he says, "Hey, I just want to tell you something for whatever it's worth. There's people in this world that love you, that care about you, that probably don't want to see you like this. I've seen a lot of people and where they go after this. You're drunk in a ditch somewhere. And I really hope next
Yeah.
time, if I ever run into you again, that you're making better decisions. People love you. People care about you. You're better than the man that you're showing up as right now." And that was
Yeah.
that. And he said, "Happy New Year." He sent me to the house, and I wake up the next day, and that moment of, hey, this guy didn't judge me. He just loved me where I was at. He cared for me. He had all this, like, on paper opportunity as part of his position, right? To judge, to take
Yeah.
me to jail, to do all of these things. And he gave me some grace and some space and some forgiveness and loved on me. So what that did, Ken, is it lifted the scales off of my eyes, because all I saw were the kids at the Bible study, the Brad with
Yeah.
his guitar, being a jerk. And I
Yeah.
forgot that there were people that had been working in my life to bring me towards
Yeah.
God. And I totally forgot about them because I was so hurt and wounded and whatever from the negative experiences.
Yeah.
So now I had a chance to recenter, refocus on that. And I was exploring. And just a couple weeks after that, I gave my life to Christ, and it totally changed my life. And it was really because of that moment. And I don't think that was that officer's intention. And I just think we get it
Yeah. Yeah.
as believers. We get it so wrong so many times. We think we have to have this Hail Mary pass moment where we save somebody. I got driven
Yeah.
backwards down the field with so many experiences, and just that one play per se, right? Using the football analogy, totally changed my
Yeah. Mhm.
trajectory. It opened up this pocket to just really drive forward in my faith. So just love people, meet them where they're at. They have a
Yeah.
story, and you could change the trajectory of their eternity with how you show up for them.
Yeah. The Bible teaches of two ways that one can witness. Um, and the main way by which the Bible teaches the believer to witness is his life.
Yeah,
The second is by speaking and preaching and stuff like that. But the main thing is how you live. You must
yeah,
be an example.
yeah,
You are to love regardless.
yeah,
You are not to judge, lest you will be judged.
yeah,
You are called to love your enemy. That is some personal growth, if you will, because you can't love your enemy
yeah.
if you don't love yourself, man. So that is why,
Hmm.
um, and a lot of Christians, as they say, when I call them lazy Christians, that they don't invest in their personal development, because the Bible tells us that Jesus said, pick up your cross and follow me. So that means that you got some work to do.
Yeah,
So personal development is not thrown into the lap of God and you don't do anything and oh, glory to God. No, you have to put in the
yeah,
work just like everyone else, and
yeah. And
that's just the way it is.
I love that you say that, because I meet, Christians as it's all in God's hands. I go, "What are you doing to make yourself better?" "Oh, you don't believe in that Tony Robbins stuff." I go, "Listen, maybe Tony Robbins isn't
Yeah,
a Jesus follower, but what he says, like,
principles.
neuroscientifically, is true, and God
Yes.
designed me that way.
Hmm.
God designed me with that
Yeah.
capability." So you hear that all the time, "Oh, that's not," and there is some stuff that's totally not from God, because you got to be careful about some of
Yeah.
these things you follow. But
Yeah.
yeah, you don't just want to sit there. You've got to work. God gave you hands and a body and a skill set and a purpose, and you need to put it to work. So yeah, I love that you said that.
Yeah. Yeah. Lazy Christians, I call it, because I was part of that group. And once I became aware of my responsibility within that lifestyle, it caused me to begin to begin my journey and find what my assignment is, as we mentioned earlier, and
Hmm.
then locate it and move forward. So here you are. You had that experience, and you said a couple weeks later you got saved. So
Hmm.
talk to me as you began to excavate yourself into the business world because you got to go where the money is now. And
Yeah.
so you got saved before you went into quote unquote the business world,
Hmm.
um, in the sense where you're picking a profession to begin to provide your needs. Talk to us
Yeah.
as to what was that profession and how did it come about,
Yeah.
Matt?
So for the 4 years at Colorado State University, I worked with that college painting company. So right about halfway through
Yeah,
my college journey, that's when I was saved. So I'm still hanging out with these guys, and they're like, Matt,
yeah,
who is this Matt showing up? And there's still all those influences. And I was not perfect. I never picked up a drug again, but I'll tell you, I did pick up
yeah,
alcohol again, and I'm very open about that. That took time to work through.
yeah,
But I graduate college and I said, that painting thing, it's in the summer, it's hot, it's dirty, it's blue collar, it's not sexy. I'm going to go make millions of dollars
yeah,
in something sexy like suit and tie mortgage banking business. So I'm working at a mortgage
yeah,
banking job. Absolutely hate it. March 2005, was recently married, bought an upside down over leveraged house. The bank paid me to buy a house. We're in, close to 200,000 of debt. And I'm just hating life, thinking that, that's the life I was supposed to choose. I
yeah.
come into the bank that day. They bring in a new bank president, and he calls me into the office. Never met him before, and I say, "Hey,
Hmm.
nice to meet you." Stick out the hand. He just leans back in his chair, big banker's chair, and he says, "Hey, go put all your shit in a box. You're fired." And that's what he said. And then I'm like looking at him. He's like, "Now get out." So I go get all my stuff. I give him the one finger salute and some choice words. Now I'm in the parking lot with all
Yeah,
of my professional belongings in a box. And I made some vows that are conscious, voluntary vows. I remember them. Never working for a guy like that. I took off my tie. I don't ever wear ties to work.
yeah,
And I'm going to
yeah,
be a business guy. I'm going to run my own business. I'm never going to have that happen to me again. And remember, Ken, like, still angry. The world's still out to get you. I'm still running all these
yeah,
programmings. I have no idea about any of this that I'm talking about now. So I'm angry. That's my core emotion. That's my core drive. And I go, hey, I'm going to go be a millionaire. Because when I'm leaving the office, he goes, maybe you should go back and do that painting thing, as he cinches up the tie. So I'm like, now I'm really going to get you. Now I'm really
yeah,
going to make millions.
yeah,
And yeah, we launched M&E painting with my last $100, and that turned into first year, $500,000 business, $1 million business, multi-million-dollar business. And I won the awards and the accolades. And on paper, right, I'm this very successful business guy all of a sudden. And then this is when
yeah,
people start reaching out to say, what's your story? And didn't realize I had a platform or I had any kind of purpose to speak into others' lives. And
yeah,
yeah, I mean, it was interesting how my speaking has changed over the years, and I've just really started exploring my story. I had a guy in, let's see, 2013. Everybody's leaving, Ken. Nobody wants to stay and work for me, and I don't know why. It's all their fault, right?
mhm,
It's all their fault. Why are
yeah,
they leaving? And this
yeah,
coach was like, dude, you're kind of a jerk. You're kind of an ass. And nobody wants to work for you. And nobody has the cojones. He's like, cojones. I remember him doing that to tell you that. So I'm going to tell you that because I'm an ex-military West Point. I'm going to tell you what's up and you can't do anything about it. And I go, man, you're right. I hate that you're right. And I'm pissed right now that you're right, but you're right. And this took me on this journey of,
yeah.
of figuring out where I needed to work on myself. And he was right.
So when you got that information, because it's I tell people, when the dark time comes, Matt, I tell people the dark times are there for a reason. And but most people panic and they don't take the time to quiet themselves, begin to ask those questions, okay, and begin to look inside instead of like how we always do, we cuss up everyone else and and we do whatever, and but like you did, you cussed them up, but you turn inside. You're
Hmm.
like, I am going to show you something that you
Yeah.
don't know. And as you
Yeah.
began to I tell people the purpose of the darkness is to get you acquainted with yourself.
Yep.
because you were so busy running around. Like you said, you were drinking, partying, whatever, and
Yeah.
then you moved from one everything. And when this thing came, crash your world, it gives you a chance to start looking at you, going, "What
Hmm.
the heck?" And as you began to become that perpetual investigator, as we talked about,
Yeah.
things began to happen. You had the opportunity where this person was able to come and make you aware of your scotomas, as they said, that blind
Yeah.
side. Hey, you're a prick. And
Yeah.
when you became aware of it, you had a decision to make at that point in time.
Yeah.
So when you got that information, it, of course, you mentioned it rocked your world a little. What did it cause you to do once that additional information was made aware to you by this ex-military guy?
So what it first caused me to do was react, which was "F you, screw you," but I knew he was
Yeah,
right. So that's
that's the
a
first thing.
there's a difference between a reaction and response, right? Response is when you
Yeah.
take that info, you let it sit, and you do something. And I
Mm-hmm.
wrote this in my book, Painted Baby. It's called the 3 C's of changing your story. So he called me out.
Yeah.
When you get called out, you have to sit there and then do something called consideration. That's the second C, and consideration involves 3 things: it's internalization, visualization, into your destination. So when he did that, I
Mm-hmm.
had to literally take that in and let all the emotions go through, but then like logically sit there and say, okay, if I continue to do this and behave like this, and this is how my business goes, I'm visualizing what happens, where do I go, where do I end up, and am I okay with
Yeah.
that? And if you're not, if that destination is not acceptable, the third C is you commit to change. So back then,
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was going through this process. I like to put frameworks to things to take emotional
Yeah.
moments and realizations and make them logical. So it's not just a sound bite
Mm-hmm.
of "he called me out and I changed." Well, how? What did I do? And that process, we
Yes.
we all we all do that in life. You get a call out. Maybe you ate an extra cheeseburger and you shouldn't have, right? Maybe it has to do with your
Yeah.
health, whatever that is. So that's what happened, and I just went on this journey. It's a never ending journey. So like you're never there. You never arrive. Every time I feel like I've
Yes.
found something out about myself, there's still something else to find. It's a lifelong experience and journey.
I tell people that's how deep we are, man. That's how
Yeah,
deep we are. It's a never-ending journey, and it is just how it is. And once you learn that, the response, how we do it, tell people what happens is when we when that's why I always tell people learn who comes in your space because they will make you aware they're here to get something or to offer something, and
yes,
usually the response you'll have because they whatever it is, Matt, it's so sensitive that when they touch it, even if you have a wound, a natural wound, and you touch it, you'll jump. And
yeah,
if you have an emotional wound, and the guy said to you and pinpointed your emotional wound, you reacted because it is sensitive.
yeah,
But as
yeah,
you gain insight into who you are, when those opportunities happen, you, as you said, it depends. You don't respond that way. You don't act that way anymore. You look at it,
yeah,
you listen to that um, conversation and those words, and you go, okay. And your behavior has changed based on the knowledge that you've gained. So,
yeah.
talk to us as some of those principles, Matt, that you began to. I heard some of them, but I want you to start expressing that some of those principles that you began to incorporate in your life
Yep.
to help you to begin to navigate those steps after you got that information and you started, quote unquote, your personal development.
Yeah, after I started, and I realized when I was reacting to this coach, this guy, that I reacted to everything. And I didn't have any kind of like program or structure to respond. So reaction is just that knee jerk. You see something, it hits the gut emotionally, and you just blurt something out. You ever get an email
Yeah.
from somebody, right? I got an email from a customer. They weren't
Uh
happy
huh.
with the paint job, and then they attacked me because I'm losing my hair, oh, and you're going bald too, and you suck at painting. So you ever
Yeah,
been
yeah.
slamming on the keys, that kind of thing? That's a reaction.
Mhm.
So I put those emails away. If I'm using this analogy, I might write it, but then I park it.
Yeah,
Emily, she'll hear me. She goes, you pissed again? You're on the keyboard. But a response is there's questions to filter feedback, and you have to
yeah,
ask them. It's like, first of all, who is this person? Do they have
yeah.
credibility, validity, any kind of space to speak into your life? Because with social media, you can go fire a shot at anybody for anything with no
Anyone.
repercussions, right? In eighth grade, I said
Yeah.
something mean to a girl. She punched me in the face and she broke that tooth. And this is a memory that you get punched in the face if you say
Mhm.
things. And it's just like you can't do, like today, you can go say something like that with
Yeah,
no repercussions. So side note, sorry, I have squirrel syndrome sometimes. Who is this person? Do they have any credibility in my life? And are they, with what they're telling you, this coach, right? He was trying to help me make my life better, improve
yeah,
me, make a better person out of me. Is the person giving you this feedback doing that, or are they just trying to cut you down to make themselves feel better? So you have to just take a minute and literally check those boxes, because feedback matters,
yeah,
but not all of it. And there's hearing and then there's listening. You're going to hear all kinds of feedback when you start to put yourself out, especially when you have an assignment, when you have a calling and a purpose and you
yeah,
get out there. People are going to have something to say about it. And if you don't want to
yeah,
hear it, then just don't lean into your purpose. But who wants to not do that? So that's some of the
yeah,
structure that I've used, and it's still, it still hits you at the gut level. I just had something come in yesterday, and I'm like, okay, I'm going to sit on that for a minute, and
yeah.
I'm still sitting on it.
Yeah, it takes a while. Like I said, depending on the degree of sensitivity, it we respond certain ways, and sometimes I know that when that happens to me, my tendency originally was to cuss them up. I had
Yeah.
a very flowery language
Oh yeah,
with a
yeah, yeah.
dictionary that I used from time to time to express myself. And then as I learned the purpose of that conversation, I began to thank those people and respond differently. Thank you so much. And this is what I would say to people: I will take that and I will place it on the forefront of my thoughts,
Hmm.
meaning that I'm going to meditate on this
Yeah.
because you have mentioned something to me that is is a little painful, and I'm a little ticked right now, but I know what
Hmm.
I got to go do. So,
Yeah.
um, and
Yeah.
when that happens, the purpose is simply to change the trajectory. There's a belief system that needs to be altered. There's a perspective that needs investigating, and God has given you someone the privilege of coming into your life and bringing that awareness to you so that you
Yeah.
can respond and move forward. So as you began to move, Matt, talk to me about those changes as you began to apply the principles. You're looking now, since everyone is all gone, people are quitting, and with work, you're on your own. You and your wife probably making it, and you got one or two employees left.
Right.
How did you begin to um, how did you now begin to live it, Matt? How did you begin to live this new experience that you started to um, uh, do to yourself, number one,
Hmm.
investigating? How did you begin to live it day by day, Matt? How did you communicate with those around you and so forth?
Yeah, it was interesting because we have a gentleman, his name is Kevin. He's worked almost 14 years with our company. So he's seen old Matt, transitioning Matt, new Matt, and like Matt's always changing, and so is he. And we kind of went on
Yeah,
this journey
yeah,
together. So, I think it's really important when you decide to go on a journey like this that you just accept it, you admit it, you're vulnerable, you tell people, hey, I was a prick boss and I'm sorry and I'm working on
yeah,
this right now. And can you just
yeah.
notice that I'm getting better every day and that next year I'll be way better than I was this year? And to have somebody else be on that journey with you or
Mm-hmm.
alongside you
Yeah,
is really important. And there's going to be people when
yeah,
you recast this new vision, you take this accountability for where you're at in your story. They're going to be like, yeah, right, don't believe it, and they go. And I said that to a certain
yeah.
degree. I said, guys, here's the new vision of this company. It's not about me making $1 million and standing on this mountain by myself. We are taking the company in this direction. We are going to focus, like we're a painting company, but we are here to enhance the community, inspire leaders, and impact lives. That is why we exist. We went through a process to figure that out. Because of that, this is
Yeah.
how I need to lead the company. This is what I'm working on. I want to take you guys with me. And then you can't just say it. You can't give lip service. You need to go do it. And people are going to
Yeah.
stick with you or not stick with you. And when I started doing this, I started attracting a different level and caliber of person. And it was really
Hmm.
interesting. And for me, I'm a perfectionist just because of how I grew up, right? You're getting judged harshly by
Yeah.
people at an early age, so nothing's ever good enough. I'll have a huge
Yeah.
accomplishment. I can't celebrate it sometimes. But I really look at, is the Matt today, like if I come on your podcast today and then we do it again next week, I'll be a better Matt next week, just a little bit. You might not be able to
Yeah.
notice it, but those little improvements over 2 years, it's different planets
Yes.
sometimes. So that's been the story, and it's been really fun. And then digging into your story, it's hard. All of this stuff we're talking about, it's easy to just sit on the couch and run your programming and be a victim of the world, whatever that is, and not change. But there's so much more to life.
Yeah. I tell people the first place by which you begin your journey is, and that is why I believe the dark times, as we mentioned earlier, it enters into our life is to slow us down.
Yep.
It is now for us to investigate the thought. Jesus makes a statement to his disciples. He says, "Take no thought, saying." And that when I got a revelation of that, it changed my life because it realized that I have the ability to agree with the thought or disagree with the thought. So the
Hmm.
thought comes
Yeah.
all day long; it'll come all over. But once I am become a gatekeeper as to what I allow to reside within me, because I know once I allow it to reside within me, man, it will cause me to make my perspective in life change.
Yeah.
So then I am going to now create my life.
Yeah.
And I created by the thoughts that I allowed to reside within me
Hmm.
to shift my perspective. And
Yeah.
you have to have that goal, as you said. Once you have that goal, you will then allow those type thoughts that will help you to accomplish your goal. Because once your perspective switch, everything, man, becomes easy. People begin to be attracted. That energy, your faith, I tell people, your walk of faith begins to manifest, and it begins
Yeah.
to call people in and bring them into your assignment to
Hmm.
get your assignment done. Because Jesus was walking and he picked a couple of guys, and those guys left their business to come and be a part
Yeah.
of this new assignment. And so, why? Because when you're walking in faith, that authority that you carry, yeah, people see it and they want to be a part of that journey to get it done. So, how did you come about, Matt, with your first book? Because what made you, how did you get there? Because all of this stuff happening, I mean, you know, your ex-boss tell you, yeah, maybe you should start a painting thing, you're fired. I mean,
Yeah.
and next thing you know, you're a keynote speaker, you're writing books, you're teaching people about entrepreneur. How did you get from from that to start putting these books together and
Yeah.
then formulating the whole plan, as you say?
Yeah, it's really interesting. I started speaking. It was probably 2009. It was really funny. Somebody said, "Can I buy you a coffee and pick your brain?" I'm like, no one's ever bought me a coffee before,
Yeah,
but that's kind of cool. I'll take a caramel macchiato.
yeah,
Give me one of those. And then it
yeah,
was, hey, can I buy you lunch? And then can I buy you dinner? And then hey, let's go to a nice dinner. And then it was like, how much can I pay you? I came home and told Emily that. She goes, you thought about speaking? So yeah, I remember the first talk that I gave was at just like a local chamber event, and then that started turning into other things. Never had thought about writing a book.
yeah.
I'm at a speaking event, and I had one
Hmm.
topic that I spoke about, just one. There was a business
Yeah,
summit coming up, and they said, we need you to turn in two topics, and we'll pick. And I said, well, I've only got one. And the gal goes, listen, if you want to speak, I need two. So go figure it out. And I said, well, we just won a bunch of business awards. So how about how to win business awards, become an award-winning company? So I
yeah,
turned this in and she goes, that sounds really good. I'd never spoken about it. So I go speak about it. I
yeah,
outlined the steps and the benefits and all these things. And somebody came up to me, and there was nothing glamorous about this like journey. I didn't dream to be an author as a kid. She goes, "That was really great. You ever
Yeah.
thought about writing a book?" And I said, "No, but I'll think about it." And I'm a bucket list guy. I like to accomplish things. So I
Yeah.
sat down in May of 2011. And then by November 2011, this book was out, was self-published. Really had no idea
Nice.
what I was doing. Didn't understand that you write a
Mhm.
book for the reader. Imagine that, right? Not for you.
Yeah.
And it was an experience. Like I give it a C plus, B minus. Like great book. It's going to
Yeah.
teach you some awesome things. But I didn't identify as an author. I thought you
Yeah.
write a book, it sells itself. Not true. All the work is in the
Yeah.
marketing. And when I
Yes.
launched Painted Baby, so this is a decade later. I mean, I hooked up with a publisher.
Yeah.
This one's so much better. This is all about connecting
Yeah.
with clients through brave and vulnerable storytelling. So sharing your worst moments in life and business to actually show people that you're human and that you'll connect with them.
Yeah.
And because of that connection, builds trust, and then it builds business. So that's the
Yeah.
journey. But I had a struggle as an author. I was really caring too much about people's reactions and feedback about the book. So Painted Baby, I started in 2015, 16, and I just kept putting it down because I wasn't ready to like put it out there to the world. It's a very personal journey. I kind of tell
Yeah.
people you're kind of naked out there in front of everybody. These are like your words and your
Hmm.
thoughts, and
Yeah.
it's going to be open to everybody's feedback, good, bad, ugly, everything, right?
Yeah. I tell people give birth. Um,
Hmm.
just give birth. A lot of people hold on to their child and they're pregnant for years, man. It's pregnant.
Because for a long time I was
And
pregnant.
it's been there. And the next thing you know, uh, COVID had to happen. Do you know how many people give birth to things in COVID? It's
There
just
was a lot.
amazing
Yeah.
by the
Uh-huh.
millions. And
Yeah.
they were all pregnant and had not that situation allowed those pregnancy not to be aborted. Um, a lot of families and and even society as a whole would be in a certain space, but because of that time, and I know we lost a lot of people, but also I believe it has started something else that we will eventually see the results of it. So here you
Yeah.
are, Matt. You're doing all of these things. You got the books, you got the business going, and I want anyone to that are listening to us. I'm going to provide those things to you, the links as well, so that you can get into the math space because he is talking about a couple of things that you are living on this planet and you're going to need some guidance. He's talking about his spiritual journey. He's talking about the knowledge that he had in entrepreneurship. He's talking about speaking. He's talking about all of these different leadership qualities that resides within him and those that are listening to us, I want you to get into his space, buy his books, so that he can, through his words, spoken and written, will awaken something in you and change your trajectory, change your perspective of how you're seeing yourself. Matt talked about how he saw himself from a young man when he got hurt and how it managed him for a little while and then he talked about how he overcame. And I want you guys to get in touch with him. And Matt, I want you to talk to us now as you are here and you are with one of these folks. Just get us to peek into your brain for a minute when someone comes and they say, Matt, I'm on my end, man. I'm done,
Yeah.
man. I just want to check it in.
Hmm.
And I tell people,
Yeah.
folks like yourself, are excited about those conversations.
Yeah.
Talk to us, Matt, as to one of those conversations that took place and when the person realized from your conversation and they get it, the lights came on
Yeah.
and how it propelled them. I know what it did to you,
Yeah.
but I tell people there's not you have to experience that. Matt and I will talk about it, but until you experience I call it the ultimate um, position that we are called to live, Matt, and that is to become a servant.
Yeah.
I believe that is the
Yeah.
ultimate.
It is.
There's nothing like it.
Yeah.
Talk to us about some one of those conversations.
Yeah, when somebody reaches out and they're at their wits end of their rope, I just say, "Hey, I've been there. I understand. I see you. I hear you. I feel you, and let's just have a coffee." So if you're listening to this and you're at that place, reach out, reach out to somebody. And if the somebody you reach out to doesn't respond with, "Hey, let's have a coffee. Let's sit down. Let's jump on a Zoom because you're in Thailand and I'm in Colorado," then that's okay. Just ask
Yeah,
somebody else. But
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I went on a podcast recently. It was right after Painted Baby came out, and it was the second time I went on
hmm
this gentleman's podcast. And from the first time to the second time, he had a lot of life happen. Had a partnership with the
yeah,
podcast that went. I wouldn't even say sideways; they just went different ways. And he was getting ready to shut it down, and he was literally getting ready to, cancel Riverside, like cancel everything to shut the podcast down. And I had
yeah,
emailed him because he said, email me when Painted Baby comes out. So I emailed him that day and he goes, right as I was about to close things down, I see your email. And I said, hey, I've got to come back on because you told me to reach out to you. And he said, all right, I'm going to do one more
yeah,
episode with Matt. And I said, here's the book. Read the book before I come on. And he read it. And I come on the podcast and he goes, Matt, I don't know if you know this, but the words you wrote, the things you said totally inspired me to keep this thing going and look at this situation from a different light. And it just
yeah,
speaks to, the police officer showing up in my life doing his thing. He's
yeah,
just being him, changed my
yeah,
direction. Same thing with this gentleman in the podcast. And I'm getting, wonderful messages from all over the world from people that have read this book
yeah,
and it's making an impact. And that's one of the coolest things about being in this space is it's not about you. It's about serving. It's about sharing, and it's about touching people's lives. And you never know where that's going to take them.
yeah. It is the ultimate gift to be a servant, and information is designed to cause the shift in perspective. The Bible in the Christian world, we call it revelation. One, the information comes into that individual, and that revelation took place, and it causes a shift in your perspective. Because when you shift your perspective, Matt, you're speaking, you're thinking, everything begins to move
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
your world begins to change and you begin to create what you're doing. I want to thank you so much, sir, for coming and sharing here at President Enlightenment. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ken.